Okay. The next about 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, I'm gonna explain. Okay, starting from next week, we don't need this. Okay. Thank you. It's about my height, right? Okay. A short test. What would you think my height be? Below? No. Let's test this guy first. What is the height, you think? 160? 168? 160? That's a big difference. 165? Okay, let's use a vote. Below 160, show your hand. Raise your hand. Below 160. This guy, not me. Okay, 2. Between 160 and 165. Okay. Above 165 until 170. Okay, so let's say it's between 160 and 165. Let's make it smaller. Okay? Between 160 and 162, show your hand. Okay. From 162 to 164. 4. A little bit more. Okay. Then 164 to 165. Okay. About even. So this guy is 164. Somewhere, 164 or 165. Okay? Okay, now look at me. That's below 160. No? You're very smart. Okay? Between 160 and 165. Show your hand. Okay, about 7, 8. Between 165 and 170. Oh, more. Okay, now let's make it. Let's go from 165 to 170. 165 to 167. Okay, 167 to 169. Oh, about the same. 170. No? Give me a break. Okay, so I'm, based on your perception, I'm 167, somewhere around that. 166, 167, 167. Yeah, I'm flattered. Okay, so I think this guy is a little shorter. Really? Oh, because you made it that way. Okay. Yeah. Actually, this is called psychophysical estimation. Psychophysics. Using psychology, using your mind to estimate something which is physical. My height is completely physical. Right? So you're estimating the size or the dimensions of a physical object. The perception based on your own experience and perception. And the point is this. It is very accurate. Quite accurate. Actually, including my shoes. It's about 167, 66. Amazing. Our brain. It works like I think it's a big AI. You know, very, very powerful. The point is this. Have you ever measured somebody's height? If your job is a nurse, if your job is a teacher in the elementary school, or if your job is in a company, have you ever measured somebody's height and then you look at the scale? Oh, you are 176. You are 158. So then you get the experience. Never, right? You never. How do you get this experience? How do you get the feedbacks? It's very fuzzy. Have you ever measured your own height? Standing in front of the mirror and then measure it? Ah, this is 167. You need to gain experience this way, right? But you never. Then how do you estimate my height so accurately? Actually, everybody's. Where do we get that? Those feedbacks. You're learning. Very fuzzily. You don't know where you learn it. You don't actually know where you learn the height information, the mapping. This is 160. That is 180. The mapping. How do you know? How do you learn? Where do you learn from? Actually, nobody knows. This would be a very interesting question. Right? If you think about it. So another hypothesis, maybe it was built already. Because if I ask you to estimate the size of an elephant, how tall and a giraffe, you don't have it. You don't have it. But for human being, you seem to have some information already there. That's probably the only reason why we don't go through this learning process. Exactly. You never had experience to measure anything. Right? This confused me quite a lot. It's interesting question. This is psychophysics. So psychophysical approach is actually quite accurate. Psychophysics. Okay, this is the energy metabolism. Okay, there are actually only 4 equations so far we know of, and actually the number 1 equation is the only thing that is able to produce energy in our body, in our cell. Although we say there are 4 sources of energy or ATP, but okay, everything will return to number 1. ATP is called adenosine triphosphate. We don't have to look at its chemical component element. But we know there are tri means 3. There are 3 phosphate in it. Okay? And this ATP has 3 P. When it breaks, we know that breaking of the bond will produce energy, will generate energy. So ATP, when one of the P is being released, or the bond is being separated, then the energy is released. And what is ATP? ATP is adenosine diphosphate. Di means 2, diphosphate. So there are 3 phosphate, but now it becomes 2. And then 1P is getting out of it. And then the bond is broken and there's energy. ATP, the molecule, one molecule will produce about 5,000 calories. K means 1,000. CAL means calories. And this is what we usually say, 5K cal, 5,000 calories. So what is this calorie? When we learn this information, we gotta have an idea with respect to our daily life, because this is really what we are doing as a living body. How many calories are there in your breakfast? Do you know? How many calories per day you eat? Your intake, that's called intake. How many? Do you have any idea? Yeah, okay, 2,000. So, during the lunch, go down there, go to the family 7, or is it family convenience store? Look at the package. Look at your lunch box. It has the information. Okay, and you can compare. Normally, the more calories, the higher the cost, right? You pay for your calories, right? There should be a relationship. You pay for your calories. That's why you eat, right? But nowadays, we change. Okay, we try to eat something 0 calorie. You drink 0 calorie Coke, Pepsi. You pay for 0 calorie. That's absurd. Okay. But every day you need 2,000. But this is already 5,000. So you just eat 1 ATP, a molecule. Oh, obviously it's not. It's very confusing. In food, energy, food calorie, 1 food calorie, it's also C, denoted by C. 1 calorie is actually, in terms of energy in physics, it's 1,000 calorie. And you know what is calorie? We learned that. You burn a candle and you heat the water, right? Up to 1 Celsius degree. So that's the calorie idea. So food calorie, when you say 1 calorie, it's equivalent to physics calorie 1,000. 1,000 calories. So we usually add a K. So 5. So this is only 5 food calories. TP will give you 5 calories in terms of food calories, and you need 2,000 per day usually. This is 5. Okay, so that's the mapping. Otherwise, it's very confusing. So this is the point is, okay, if we don't suppose now you are doing fasting, you have not eaten anything, okay, this morning. So, but you are still working, right? So where's the energy from? The stored ones. Yeah, there's something stored. Okay? But where an ATP is that's something that is stored in your muscles, in your muscle cells. Actually, not within the cell, it's somewhere there, near the muscle cells. So when you need it, when you need to do the contraction, this one is the very first thing that will come into play. Okay? Stored ATP, each ATP will produce 5, and then the stored ATP totally, usually, suppose you are using a muscle here, your arm, a particular muscle in the nearby area, there will be some stored ATP, which is only available for a few seconds. Okay? Only a few seconds. Okay. Obviously, you need something more to continue your work. Okay? And that is so the second equation will come into play in this case. If you continue to work for more than a few seconds, okay, ATP will be depleted, will be gone, and you need more. And it is human body is very smart. The second equation comes into play, which is CP. C is creatine phosphate. Again, CP is also stored somewhere near the cell. CP will be converted to P, 1P plus 1C, that's creatine. And this process will also release energy because the bond is broken, right? And this additional P will be combined with ADP, okay, which comes from here, from the first equation, okay, and plus some energy, unit energy to combine them. And then they are combined back to ATP. And this is like a recycle process. You are recycle ADP back into ATP. And once you have, so for every molecule CP, you are able to produce also one additional ATP. As long as the store of your CP is available, then you are able to recycle that amount of ATP. And this will come back to the first equation. As long as the work continue. Right? Perfect. You are recycle. This is like you feel hungry, but you don't have money to buy new hamburger. So you walk to the trash can and look at it. There's something. You recycle them. You found something that is available. That's good. How long? Depending on the storage of CP. Usually additional. Maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds, even to 1 minute. Depending on, everybody is different. Somebody can last very long. Okay? Third, but it will be depleted sooner or later. CP will be gone. So then you go to the third process or fourth process, number 3 or number 4, depending on whether there's enough air, fresh air, enough oxygen. As you can see, now you need more, so it goes to either here or here. If you are allowed to breathe, then you go to number 4. If you are not allowed to breathe, or in some other conditions, breathing is difficult, then you will go to number 3. Sometimes these two go together, but eventually if there's enough oxygen, you will go into number 4 until you take a rest, until you stop the work. Okay? Now, suppose you jump into the water. Obviously, there is no oxygen available now, but you still using the muscle. You still need energy. So in this case, number 3 is the only one, which is called anaerobic. An means without. Anaerobic. No aerobic, no oxygen. Oxygen independent process. Anaerobic glycolysis. Glycogen is sugar. Glycolysis is the process utilizing sugar. So you can see this equation. You take the sugar, glucose, plus 1P, plus the ADP available in your cell, in your body, and then you form ATP again. You form ATP. As long as there's glucose, then you create that amount of ATP. And then you come back to number 1, and then you get the energy. And the side product of this equation is lactic acid, which is not good, which is bad. This is the waste produced during this process. Okay, and there will be one point that this process cannot continue. It is because the lack of glucose. It is because your blood contains too much lactic acid. You have to stop this process. Otherwise, the muscle will crank, pain, like that. Okay. So when you jump into the water, how long can you work? There's a limit. Because you cannot breathe, no air, no oxygen. So equation number 3 will continue until lactic acid is too high, too much. Then you have to stop. Then you have to get up. About 60 seconds to 90 seconds. Some people can do it for many minutes. So we can actually very accurately estimate the entire process. If you are in the environment, you can continue to get oxygen. Obviously, you don't have to go through anaerobic glycolysis. That's good. Then you go here, aerobic glycolysis. You take the glucose. You have plenty of glucose in your body. You eat breakfast. You already have a lot. Or fatty acids. In your food, you not only eat sugar, you also eat. Sugar comes from carbohydrates. We'll talk about that. And free fatty acids comes from the fat that you eat, and you combine with P and ADP plus oxygen. So you're burning them, actually. You look at this. You're burning your glucose and fatty acids. You're burning your food. You just take. And then it produces carbon dioxide, okay, and produce water and ATP again. And then the ATP goes here, and then you have, as long as this process continues, as long as you have food, you have glucose, you have free fatty acids in blood, and then you can do this. You don't have to stop. You don't have to stop. It's like a car. The engine just continues. As long as you have enough food, enough air, then it continues. And you will see that this guy needs to breathe the oxygen in, and then this guy will also need to breathe out the carbon dioxide. So the air exchange is ongoing, is continuing. Also, you'll see this guy sweating, H2O, that's water. So this is the entire process. This is called aerobic glycolysis. Okay? And we'll stop here today, and then we'll continue to talk about the nutrition for work.